Let's discuss today the effective communication in network marketing and how to best practice this. We're going to talk about verbal and nonverbal techniques to build trust and rapport. So, welcome to our Network Marketing Success Series. My name's Scott. Today we're going to dive into a skill that will directly impact your recruiting, your sales, your retention, your leadership, and your overall effectiveness, and that is communication. So I want to start with just a surprising statistic. So according to research by Albert Morabian, when we communicate about emotions and attitudes, only 7% of what we convey comes from our words. The other 93% comes from things like tone of voice and body language. But most network marketers, they focus almost exclusively on what they say. Their scripts, their presentations, talking points, and they neglect how they say it, okay? The most successful network marketers aren't just masters of content, they're masters of connection. They understand that effective communication, it builds trust, builds rapport, and that builds necessary long-term business relationships, okay? So by the end of this video, you're gonna have some practical strategies to elevate your verbal and nonverbal communication skills and help you connect more authentically with your prospects, your customers, as well as your team members, okay? So before diving into specific techniques, let's understand the communication success triangle, okay? It's a framework for effective network marketing communication. What it is it consists of three equally important components, right? First is clarity. That's the ability to convey information in a simple but accessible way that the listener can easily understand and remember, all right? Second is connection. Now, that's the ability to establish rapport and emotional resonance with your audience. And then third is conviction. That's the ability to communicate with authentic belief and passion that's going to inspire action in others. Now, most network marketers, they primarily focus on clarity, explaining their products, their compensation plan, or their opportunity. And that's essential, right? But it's insufficient without connection and conviction. So let's talk about how to master each element of this triangle, starting with verbal communication techniques. Now, when you look at verbal communication, it actually encompasses the words you choose, how you structure your message, and the vocal qualities you employ, okay? Let's break down the 5 key verbal techniques used by top network marketing communicators. Number 1 is strategic storytelling, okay? Stories are 22 times more memorable than just the facts. The most effective network marketers, they use 3 types of stories, okay? Personal transformation stories, which build credibility. They use customer success stories that demonstrate product value, and team member success stories that validate the opportunity. So, effective network marketing stories, they follow a simple structure. Relatable situation before, the specific challenge or the pain point, the discovery or decision point, implementation and initial doubts, and then positive outcome, which is the after, okay? And then finally, the lesson or insight gained. So the key is authenticity and specificity. Success stories, they don't create the same connection as detailed, genuine accounts, right? You want them to be fact-based. Second is having question-based communication. So top communicators, they spend more time asking questions than making statements. This helps to uncover specific needs and motivations. It positions you more as a consultant rather than a salesperson. And it actually creates personalized conversation better than just presenting, right? Some effective questions are, they follow a specific sequence. So situation questions or problem questions that will uncover pain points, implication questions that expand awareness of the problems, or need payoff questions that highlight the value of the solutions, right? Now, simplified explanations, okay? So complex concepts, they lose listeners. You want to master to eliminate industry jargon and technical terms and use concrete examples rather than just abstract concepts, okay? You want to break hard ideas into manageable chunks and focus on benefits rather than features and processes. Fourth is strategic pausing. So silence is powerful. Effective communicators that use pauses to emphasize key points, allow important information to sink in, create space for questions, demonstrate confidence and thoughtfulness, and break patterns to recapture the attention, right? Fifth is vocal variety. So research shows that monotone delivery dramatically reduces comprehension and retention. Great communicators, they vary their volume, they vary their pace, they vary their pitch. It helps to maintain interest and emphasize emotions. And they have great articulation, right? So if you implement these verbal techniques, it's going to significantly enhance your communication effectiveness. But that is only half the equation, right? Let's explore some of the other often neglected aspects of nonverbal communication, all right? As we noted earlier, over half of our emotional communication, it comes through body language. So here are 6 nonverbal techniques that dramatically enhance your communication effectiveness, right? 6. So number 1 is intentional eye contact. Eye contact creates connection and it demonstrates confidence, okay? Best practices include maintaining eye contact 60 to 70% of the time while speaking. Also increasing to 80 to 90% of the time while listening, all right? Use the triangle technique, so you alternate between both eyes and the forehead during longer conversations, okay? You want to soften your gaze to demonstrate warmth. Avoid staring, right? In group settings, you want to make individual eye contact with each person for 3 to 5 seconds. Now, number 2 is engaged body positioning. So your body position, it actually communicates interest and openness. So great communicators, they position at a slight angle rather than directly facing someone. It's less confrontational. They lean slightly forward to demonstrate interest. They keep their arms uncrossed and open. They mirror the other person's body language, just subtly, okay? And they maintain an open stance with feet shoulder width apart when they're presenting. Number 3 is to have strategic hand gestures. Hand movements, they increase retention and engagement when they're used properly. So you want to use purposeful hand gestures that reinforce key points. Keep them above the waist and within your box, okay? The area from the shoulders to the waist. You want to use open palm gestures to build trust. Employ enumeration gestures when listing points and avoid nervous or repetitive movements. Number 4 is facial expression, right? Your face communicates authenticity and enthusiasm, so you want to smile, right? You want to allow your expressions to match your message. Practice responsive listening faces that show engagement and avoid unconscious negative expressions such as a furrowed brow or tight lips, right? Remember that enthusiasm is contagious, but it has to be authentic. Number 5 is spatial awareness. Proximity to their comfort zone and their connection, right? You want to respect cultural differences. You want to maintain a comfortable distance. So in Western cultures, 3 to 4 feet for business conversations, right? You want to reduce distance slightly when building deeper rapport. And you want to increase distance when introducing new or challenging ideas. Position yourself at the same level, both sitting or standing. Number 6 is environmental control. So the environment actually affects your communication effectiveness as well. You want to choose locations, okay, with minimal distractions. You want to consider lighting. Natural light is always best for trust building. You want to have a comfortable temperature and seating, right? You want to eliminate background noise when possible. And you want to position devices and materials strategically. So when you're able to master these nonverbal elements, your communication, you communicate not just with your words, but with your entire presence. Now, this is maybe more important, and that's in today's network marketing, we're going to talk more about digital effectiveness, right? Digital communication. So there are 5 techniques for maintaining effectiveness when communicating through digital channels. Very important. In video communication, right, when using video calls or creating video content, you want to position your camera at eye level. And you want to look directly at the camera when speaking. You want to have proper lighting, light source in front, not behind, okay? And use a clean professional background. You want to eliminate any visual or auditory distractions, and you want to dress and groom as you would, same as you were in person. Secondly, voice only. When communicating by phone, You want to increase your energy, increase your expressiveness by 20%. Stand up to improve vocal projection and confidence, and smile when you're speaking. It seems silly, but it affects your voice quality. You want to use more verbal affirmations to replace visual feedback, and be more explicit with transitions and signposting. And then finally, eliminate background noise and distractions. Now let's talk about written communications, okay? So for texts, emails, messages, you want to front load important information. You want to use shorter sentences and paragraphs than you do in spoken communication. You want to incorporate appropriate formatting, bold, bullets, maybe some emojis, but not too many. Be explicit about your tone, but avoid misinterpretation. You want to always proofread, okay? Be professional, and consider your timing of messages. Timing is important, and if you're tracking that stuff, your tracking will tell you everything, okay? Now, remember, you always want to use stories and examples rather than claims and statements, right? You want to incorporate visuals that are going to reinforce your message. You want to respond promptly, thoughtfully to any comments. Focus on providing value, always overselling, all right? Now, let's talk about async communication management. So for communication that doesn't happen in real time, all right, you want to set clear expectations about response timing. Use appropriate levels of formality based on relationship. Provide context, provide background information. You want to be concise, but you want to be complete, and you want to follow up appropriately if no response is received. Follow up is where the fruit is, right? So these digital communication techniques, they're going to help you maintain connection and effectiveness across all the channels, right? Now, one of the most powerful communication skills is the ability to adapt your approach based on the preference of your audience. So let's explore communication adaptation framework used by top network marketers. You want to identify communication preferences that people generally prefer. You know, they have one or four communication styles. Direct communicators, they value brevity, results, direct to the point, right? Then you have your analytical people. They value data, logic, detailed process. And expressive communicators, they want enthusiasm and the big picture and the personal connection. And then you have supportive communicators. They want harmony, collaboration, and values, right? So you can identify the preferences by observing your pace and tone of speech, the amount of detail provided in their responses, how they focus on their facts versus feelings, and also their decision-making approach, as well as questions they ask, right? Then you want to adapt your communication approach. So once you've identified their preferences of your audience, you can adjust your approach. So for direct communication, you want to, bam, be to the point. You want to focus on the results, focus on the outcomes, provide clear action steps, be confident, be decisive, respect their time. For analyticals, provide detailed information, provide research. Use logical arguments rather than emotional appeals. You want to have facts, figures, evidence. You want to acknowledge their potential concerns, sometimes before they express them. And you want to allow time for processing information. Now, for the feelers, or the expressive communicators, show a lot of enthusiasm and energy. Focus on vision, possibilities. You want to include personal stories and testimonials and have some humor and some interaction, right? Highlight the people aspect of the opportunity. Supportive communicators, you want to build that relationship before business always. You want to emphasize team, community aspects, right? Provide reassurance and reduce perceived risks. And you want to focus on helping others and making a difference. Maybe use a warmer and more personal approach, okay? Third, you want to maintain authenticity. So while adaptation, it doesn't mean being inauthentic. It means emphasizing different aspects of your message, adjusting your pace, meeting people where they are and meeting people by who they are, right? You want to create the best environment for them to be able to understand your message, all right? The most successful network marketers, they effectively communicate with all types, but they remain true to their own values and their own personality, all right? Now, how can you implement this? Let's synthesize these techniques into an easy 30-day implementation plan. So days 1 through 10, verbal communication. You want to focus, okay? Day 1 through 3, record and analyze your current communication. Day 4 to 5 is develop your 3 core stories: personal, product, and opportunity stories. In day 6 and 7, you want to practice question sequences for different scenarios. Day 8 through 10 is you want to implement vocal variety and strategic pausing techniques. Days 11 through 20, work on your nonverbal communication, okay? Day 11 through 13, practice intentional eye contact, facial expressions. Day 14 through 16, develop purposeful gestures for key points, and you want to refine your body positioning for different communication scenarios. Days 19 through 20, create optimal environmental setups for important conversations. Now, then you want to work on your adaptation and integration. So days 21 through 23, practice identifying communication preferences. Day 24 to 26, develop adaptive approaches for each style. And day 27 through 28, integrate verbal and nonverbal techniques, and then you want to refine your digital communication strategies, okay? I want to help you implement this plan effectively, so I've created a comprehensive network marketing mastery workbook. So the resource, what it does is it includes assessment tools, practice exercises, implementation guides for all the techniques that we've covered today. You can download it using the link in the description, all right? Just remember, okay, effective communication, it's not just a nice to have skill in network marketing. It's essential for success at every level and in any industry, okay? Whether you're recruiting, selling, training, leading, your ability to connect authentically with others will help you in all areas of your life, but especially network marketing. So remember that communication success triangle: clarity, connection, and conviction. When you have all 3 elements and you integrate all of them with both verbal and nonverbal techniques, then you create communication that will actually inspire action. The exciting part is that these communication skills, everything that I teach is all learnable. So you have to have conscious practice, and with the right techniques, anyone can become an effective communicator. So, hey, go ahead and download that Network Marketing Communication Mastery Workbook using the link in the description, okay? It's going to guide you through implementing everything that we've covered today. So, in our next video, we're going to cover presentation skills that will actually convert prospects into team members and customers. I hope you've gotten a lot of value in this training. So if you have, hit that subscribe button, share it with others, and drop a comment, okay? Let me know your biggest takeaway from today's training. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video.